Donna, the push to search a landfill outside of Winnipeg for the remains of 3 murdered Indigenous women took years, but in just days, 2 families have gotten answers. Today, police are identifying the remains of Marcedes Myran. They were discovered at the Prairie Green Landfill outside of Winnipeg last month. This follows the identification of Morgan Harris, whose remains were found at the same landfill 10 days ago. Myran and Harris were both from the Long Plain First Nation, just west of Winnipeg. Last week, Harris's daughter said she felt certain that both the Myrans and her family would have closure on this. And today, Myran's family has asked for privacy as they get a grip on that. But Manitoba's Premier Rob Canoe, who made the search for the landfill an election promise, said that the search was always the right thing to do.
Marcedes Myran and Morgan Harris are coming home. I hope that Manitobans and Canadians believe that this reflects positively on our province and on our country. We went through a whole heck of a lot to get to this point, but at the end of the day, we did the right thing.
The Manitoba and federal governments put up $40 million to look for Harris, Myran, and possibly a third unidentified woman who elders have called Buffalo Woman. The search for that third woman continues. So this marks a significant chapter in a story reaching back several years, Donna, one that is still being felt today.
A landfill, a place meant for forgotten things, discarded remnants of life. But in March 2025, a chilling discovery turned a dumping ground into a crime scene. Among the mountains of waste, something unimaginable surfaced, the remains of a young woman. Her name was Marcedes Myran.
Marcedes was more than just a name in a tragic headline. She was a daughter, a friend, and a mother of 2. A bright soul trapped in a world that too often failed to protect Indigenous women. But what led to her horrifying fate? And who was the monster behind it? It all started in 2022 when police began tracking a man whose dark urges knew no bounds. Jeremy Skibicki, a name that would send shockwaves across Canada, was more than just a predator. He was a serial killer hiding in plain sight. Skibicki was charged with the brutal murders of 4 Indigenous women, including Marcedes. His method? Cold, calculated, unforgiving. His victims disappeared, their bodies discarded like garbage. But even in death, their voices refused to be silenced. For months, her family begged for answers. Search parties combed landfills, hoping to find any trace of their loved one. And then in early 2025, the nightmare became reality. DNA tests confirmed the remains found at Prairie Green Landfill belonged to Marcedes Myran. The pain was unbearable, but the fight for justice? Far from over. Indigenous communities across Canada stood together, demanding action, demanding change. The question remains, how many more lives must be lost before something is done? In August 2024, Jeremy Skibicki was sentenced to life in prison. No parole for 25 years. But for Marcedes' family, for the children she left behind, no sentence could bring her back. Marcedes Myran. A name that should never be forgotten. A woman who deserved more than a landfill burial. A story that should haunt us until justice is truly served. Say her name. Share her story. Demand change. Marcedes Myran's story is heartbreaking.
I want her body.
Are you feeling like a closure in a sense with the news yesterday, or how does that make you feel?
No, it hurts. I can't find her. Like, how are you supposed to close if you can't find her? She could be still alive. That's my hope.
But it's not just a story. It's a reality that too many Indigenous women face. Her life mattered. Her voice matters. And justice should never be optional. What are your thoughts on this tragedy? How can we, as a society, do better? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this conversation going.